Hey friends, are you still wondering how you're going to finish all the decorating, shopping, wrapping, and still have time to put together a delicious and special Christmas dinner? I'm Mel and welcome to my kitchen. When I'm in a crunch, I can always count on my Crockpots to save the day. Today, I'm taking you through a beautiful Christmas dinner, main dish, sides, even dessert, and it's all made in the Crockpot. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of eggnog, and let me tell you the story of the Crockpot that saved Christmas. This is the pork loin that I'm using, and this is a half loin roast. This is 6 pounds. This is not going to fit in the biggest crock pot that I have. I'm going to cut this down maybe to 4 pounds. Also, this is the pork roast that my dad won at a turkey shoot. If y'all follow me on Instagram, you have been seeing all the big 10-pound things of ground beef and pork loin and bacon and all that kind of stuff that he has been winning. But anyhow, this was like a real blessing, and what better way to put it to good use? I'm going to feed him tonight. Patrick had the great idea, he said, instead of doing barbecue pork out of that, because he actually has another pork butt to smoke, he said, why don't you cut it into pork chops? So I said, that's a great idea. Why don't you cut it into pork chops? So look at these big, thick chops he's making out of the end of that. You're good at that. We've got our pork loin in the crock pot here, got it fat side up. We're going to mix some of these very simple, basic ingredients to make us a nice glaze for this in the crock pot. Okay, we're going to start our glaze, and this recipe was for a 3-pound pork loin, and I probably have a 4-pound. So I went ahead, instead of just using a cup of these preserves, I just went ahead and used the whole 13-ounce jar of it right then. We're going to put in about a half a cup of diced onions and a half a cup of diced green pepper. And I just happen to have those in the freezer. That will work fine. I'm going to put in a tablespoon of Dijon mustard. And I'm just going to eyeball that. And then we're going to put in half a cup of chicken broth. And I did leave it at half a cup because I could tell that pork loin did have just a little bit of frozenness still to it. So it will let off some of that water as it cooks. Now that we've got everything ready, we're just going to go over the top of this with a little bit of salt and pepper. Now we're going to take our glaze and pour it all over the top. Before I get all of it used up, I am going to spread some down here and try to lift up this roast and let some get underneath of it too. Oh, this is going to be so sweet and so good. Put that in, cover it. I'm going to do mine on high for 4 hours and see where we are from there. And let's check out our roast. It's been almost 3 hours. That is looking pretty. Now let's get some green beans going, and we're going to start with bacon. This is the irregular bacon that I always find at Aldi, and I want you to look how good this is. I can never recommend this enough. It's about $3.80-something for a pound of this. It is so good. And I'm just taking about 6 slices of this, and I'm going to brown it up nice and crispy with just a little touch of onion in here. Let's just take a second and look at this skillet of beauty. I'm going to use 3 14.5-ounce cans of green beans, and I am going to drain them. I wanted to show you this little strainer because every time I use this, people ask me all about it. It's perfect for straining the water off canned vegetables, but if you turn it the other way and push it down into a small can of tuna, it is perfect for draining that too. I have one linked in my Amazon store in the description box, but I think you can also pick these up at Walmart if you're out, if you're interested. I'm putting all 3 of those cans of green beans in here, and I did drain them. Normally, I just cook them in the water they come in, but for special occasions, I like to cook them in some chicken broth. So I'm putting in a cup and a half of that. I'm not going to put any salt to these. I may not at all. We'll see at the end. But I am going to put some pepper in here. And the reason I'm not putting any salt in it is because those 6 slices of bacon that we cooked up, I'm going to put all of that in here along with all the grease. Now, if you wanted to, you could dice up a potato or 2 and put in here, but I just really want them like this. And this is good to go just like it is. But something extra that I've been doing to my green beans when I cook them on the stove is add just a little bit of Worcestershire. And I'm going to do that here because we're really liking that. And I've been putting a little bit of brown sugar. And what's not to love about that? Now I'm just going to stir all of this together. You're welcome to use fresh green beans in here too if they're in season, but you know, right now the green beans don't look so good that you see around here in East Tennessee right now. But I think that is a perfect ratio right there of chicken broth, bacon, and all of the fixings. You just customize this. You can also use French style green beans, the flat green beans, whatever your family likes. I will leave a recipe linked down below with more specific measurements and stuff like this if you need that. I'll actually have recipes or links down below for everything that I show tonight, just like I always do. I'm going to put this in the crock pot, cover it, cook it on high for 3 to 4 hours. They're done. Basically, you got to heat them through. You just want them to how you like them. If you like them really mushy or if you like them to have a little firmness to them. Green beans have been on about 2 hours. Let's look at them. They're looking good. But you know what? I'm going to leave them right where they're at because I like my green beans to get really good and done. Hey friends, I just wanted to pause a minute before I give you the big reveal of the Crockpot Christmas dinner. I wanted to let you know that today's video is a collab with my friend Maria. Her channel is called Meals with Maria. If you've not heard of her, you definitely want to check out her video when you're done here. I'll leave it linked in my description box below. She has lots of great cooking content. She has a ton of Christmas videos out right now. So if you need any kind of inspiration for dinners, quick meals, crock pot food, or appetizers and desserts, she has you covered too. You're really going to enjoy her content. She has a great channel and she's a wonderful person. I've truly enjoyed getting to know her, and I have certainly had a good time putting together my video for our collab. And if this is your first time here, a big welcome to you, and welcome to anybody coming over from Maria's channel. I'm so glad all you guys are here. Now we'll get back to the Crockpot Christmas dinner, and I wanted to let you know, you can do this like I did. Borrow some crock pots, do a whole Christmas dinner in one day in the crock pot, or you could just pick and choose some of these recipes to put in the crock pot to supplement what you're cooking in the oven or on top of the stove. You can also take any of these crock pot meals and make them regular on the stovetop or in the oven. This is totally inspiration, and I knew when Maria had this idea that I definitely wanted to do the whole meal, start to finish, everything in the crock pot in one day. I just thought that would be a fun challenge. In my house, we can't have a nice dinner without some macaroni and cheese. I'm boiling 8 ounces of elbow macaroni just until it's about al dente. I'm going to drain that off, and then I'm going to throw in about a tablespoon of butter to melt down into this before we mix everything together in the crock pot. Okie doke, if I have not mentioned it, I do spray my crock pot pretty much every time I put something in it. Now I know this doesn't look like very much, but this is a big crock pot. I halved this recipe because honestly, we don't need 16 big ounces of this big rich macaroni. I've got elbows that I've boiled al dente, and then I melted a half a tablespoon of butter down into that. We're going to pour in 1 cup of just regular milk, 8 ounces of a Monterey Jack cheese, which is 2 cups. Then we're going to use 1 cup or 4 ounces of just plain mozzarella cheese. Now, what's going to take this over the top? We're going to go in with some garlic powder. I'm just going to use half of a tablespoon because I have never made this macaroni and cheese before. The recipe said that the lady that created this recipe, her and her family love it with an entire tablespoon of garlic in it. they're garlic lovers. Well, we like garlic too, but I'm just going to play it on the safe side and put what she has in the actual recipe for it. Get all this mixed in really good. And as I'm mixing this together, I'm really smelling that garlic. So I think that we probably did the right thing. A little bit more mozzarella cheese, just about a half of a cup, and sprinkle and spread it all across the top. I probably used a little bit more than half a cup, but that's okay. Putting the lid on this, and I'm going to cook this on low for 4 hours. Okie dokie, it has been almost 2 hours on low for this macaroni and cheese, and it is looking good. But you know what? I might just put it over to keep warm, because our other stuff will have to catch up with that. Crockpot cooking is not an exact science. You just got to roll with the punches. But yeah, I can cut it back up here in just a little bit, but I don't want it to get too crusty around the edges before the rest of our stuff's done. And we can't forget dessert. We're going to have a cherry cheesecake cobbler. This is a lot like the cherry dump cakes that I make in the crock pot, but we are using some whipped cream cheese, and we're using a French vanilla cake instead of a butter cake. We're going to start by taking this cake mix and 8 tablespoons of melted butter, and I'm just going to mix that all together. This is the topping of the cobbler, and I always start out mixing it in, and then I finish off by just taking my hands, and you really want to make sure you don't have any big lumps of cake that has not got butter in it. I have sprayed my crock pot now, and I'm putting in 2 of the 21-ounce cans of pie filling, and I really like this extra cherry that has all the extra cherries in it. Then you're going to take this 8-ounce container of whipped cream cheese, and you're just going to make dollops all over the top of your cherries with that. Now you're taking that cake mix and you're just going to spread that all along the top. Some folks will just spread the dry cake mix and pour the melted butter over it, but I really like working it into this cake mix. You don't have any dry patches. I'm going to put the lid on this and cook it 2 hours on high. I thought of something I wanted to tell you too. Look at all these crock pots. My kitchen is not that big and I don't have that many outlets. Pretty much this is my working area. I don't have an island. Once you get over to this side of the sink, my microwave comes down from the cabinets and it takes up a lot of room, and then there's a bunch of treats some stuff to put up. But anyhow, I was talking to a friend of mine and I said, you know how everybody has coffee bars? I would like to, if I ever built a house or designed a house, I would like to have me a crock pot bar. I'd like to have a dedicated area in my kitchen with lots of outlets where I could decorate it and I could display all my crock pots, but then when I wanted to use them, and especially multiple ones of them, like today, it'd be kind of over out of the way, and then you could just serve out of them like a buffet. So let me know, are you into the crock pot bar? I think that would be the best idea ever. Our roast is definitely above 145 degrees. I poured off all of the glaze and liquid out of the crock pot, and I'm thickening it up with a little cornstarch slurry. And look at that thing getting carved up. And this was cooked perfectly, very tender, very juicy, and I didn't have to have my oven tied up for hours. And the flavor was so good. I left a little bit of the jelly and stuff on top, and then the rest of that sauce just got so thick on top of the stove. Put that over it, and it had the best flavor. Green beans and bacon, what's not to love? And this macaroni and cheese, I have to be honest, my first bite, I wasn't crazy about it. But you have to understand, I'm a good old Southern cheddar cheese macaroni girl. It took me just a minute, but the more I ate of it, the more I loved it. I did end up having to cook our cobbler for 4 hours. This was a crock pot I borrowed from my mom, and you know, every crock pot and oven will cook different, but this was absolutely delicious. That little addition of the cream cheese in there really took this little cobbler over the top. If you like ice cream on top of your warm desserts, definitely do that here. But if you've been here before, you know I just like my warm cobblery type desserts all warm. I don't want any ice cream to take away from that. As wonderful as this season is, we all know that it can be exhausting, and sometimes we put so much time into the things that don't really matter in the long run that we lose sight of the true gift that we're celebrating, and that's Christ, who came to redeem man and is hope and love. My prayer is that each one of you know His hope, peace, joy, and love. If you enjoyed this video, check out some of my others I've got linked for you on the screen. I thank you so much for watching, and I wish you a very, very Merry Christmas from my kitchen.